Now we finally got a fine day in July for once. Actually, this is the second fine day we've got. So I just have a quick update for Steyrman on his knives. So we'll just get to that now. Okay, first up we have a Martini fillet knife. It's a real traditional type of fillet knife. And what I noticed with this is it's a very shallow grind on the edge. So I put a 20-degree micro bevel on the edge because I found it was prone to roll. It was inclined to just roll over at the very edge, and that was no good. So if you used it to cut through even light fish bones, the edge would roll out or chip. So I put a 20-degree edge all along here, and hopefully that'll make it hold up a little better. Okay, next up we have another Martini fillet knife. I really like this one. There's a good old rubber grip on this, very secure. Little guard to stop you coming up onto the edge. Again, I put a 20-degree edge all along this. The main thing he wanted me to sort out with this was the tip. One of his friends, when they were out fishing, had actually jammed the knife into the earth to store it and damaged the tip, so I reground the tip. Put the same 20-degree slicey edge on there. Okay, what I generally do, these knives, the edges weren't in bad nick, so I usually start around the medium stone on the Easy Lap stones, and I'd work up through medium, fine, extra fine DMT stone. I have 2 polishing tapes that come with the Edge Pro, so I'd use both of those, and then I finish by hand stropping on leather for the ones that are in good nick, like this one, the Martini field knife, or as far as I know it's called. And this is quite a nice knife. I hadn't handled one of these before. Good solid heavy construction, good shape, good size, 4 or 5 inch blade. And again, because of the type of kind of heavier camp knife it is, I put a 20-degree edge on her. Also, I find the 20-degree edge, it fits the sharp maker, so it's very easy to touch up. Once the edge has been set, it makes maintenance on these very easy. So that's a nice knife. And again, this one I only started on the medium coarse stone because it was basically brand new. It had the factory edge on it, and I just went a bit windy here, so I went up through all the grits and finished with stropping. The classic, the Buck 110, great knife. Again, this one was pretty much new, factory edge on her. So again, medium coarse stones at 20 degrees up through, is it 6 steps, whatever that is, up to hand stropping. And I love these knives. These are great. They're not the lightest, they don't have a pocket clip, they do come with a belt sheet, but very nice knife, and probably the most lost knife in the country. Everyone has one that they used to have and left out on a hill somewhere. Okay, there's the Buck Nighthawk. This is the later type one with the green insert. I have one of these myself. Great knife. But they come with a very obtuse edge. Very thick. I mean, you see the thickness at the back. These were Buck's candidate in the Navy SEAL knife trials, and they actually were beaten out by SOG because on one of the tests the Buck knife broke where the SOG bent, and they decided at least a bent knife you could still use where a broken knife was broken. So that's why Buck went ahead and put these into production. So because of the thickness of this, what I did was I put it on the belt sander, the Veal 1x42 sander, and I put a convex edge on it, but I put a kind of a high shallow convex grind on the very edge. So I've thinned out a little of the thickness and polished that up through all the grits that I have on the belt sander, and finished up on a leather stropping belt on the sander, and then hand stropped. So that's very sharp now, but still a good thick robust edge with a lot of meat left behind the edge to support the carbide, so you don't have carbides pulling out of your edge and won't chip or roll if you have to batten it through logs and that kind of stuff. And finally, the last knife Steyrman gave me to do from was this Bruzzoletto, and this is an old one that he was given when he was a younger lad, but it had a lot of wear on it and a lot of old mileage up. You can see a lot of the scratching on the blade, but no pitting, no rust. It's a good nick, slight patina from rain or blood or whatever. But what he had been using was one of those carbide pull-through sharpeners, and it had left kind of striated scratch marks lengthwise parallel to the blade. So when I actually started grinding on this, and I had to go down to extra coarse to get those marks out, the very edge was very fragile. because of the shape of the cuts the carbide had left in the edge. So I had to cut down a fair bit of metal to get back to good steel, and even at that there was a very, very flexible burr right on the edge that kept flip-flopping over and back and wouldn't tear off for me, and I ended up having to pull it through some end grain softwood to strip that burr off and then regrind again with the extra coarse stones. So we went up through extra coarse, coarse, medium, fine, extra fine, extra fine on DMT, 2 polishing tapes, and then hand stropped on leather. So you can see the shine on the edge there again now, and that's good for another 20 or 30 years of gutting deer and processing rabbits. Nice little knife. So hopefully that'll be good for him, and thanks for watching. Good luck. Jay's nearly forgot a little bit of paper cutting just to show that the edge is in good nick. There we go. So there it is. Brusletto, any of those kind of Norwegian or Finnish knives, they've really good steel in them. Oh, liking that one. Nice and thin too. Not your today's kind of tactical brute of a knife, but obviously it hasn't been broken by 20 years of hard use in the field, so it's unlikely to be broken in another 20 years. Okay, thanks a lot.